Hi everyone, happy Wednesday and welcome to week 3 of the Yoga Therapy vlog series here at Embodied Beings. My name is Alexa. I am a therapeutic yoga teacher and a yoga therapist, and today I've chosen to talk to you about a big topic, one that has affected me personally, has affected a lot of clients who have come to see me in the past several months, and overall affects a lot of the Western world, and this is depression. Most recently, statistics say that over 16 million adult Americans are now suffering from depression, and over 40 million adult Americans are experiencing some sort of anxiety. So you can see that a lot of people are affected, and it's not only in the US, it's in a lot of the Western world. And I noticed that depression is being talked about, so that's a really good thing. It's not being stigmatized nearly as much as it used to be, but we still don't know a lot about what causes depression and how to work with it and what to do with it. And I can really connect with this feeling of not wanting to dive deeply into it because it is this big, scary thing. It feels big and scary because of the actual feeling that it has in the body. If you've ever suffered from depression and you're listening to this, you probably know that feeling of not wanting to get out of bed in the morning, or feeling completely disconnected from loved ones, or unmotivated to do the things that used to bring you joy. It also has a scary feeling around it because it can slow us down. So in this very fast-paced culture where we need to be productive, we need to be making a living and things like this, depression can really take a toll. It can really decrease quality of life. And I've also noticed there's this other subtle aspect of depression, which is this question that can go on in the mind of am I ever going to get out of this? Will it ever go away? And what if this lasts forever? I know that was one of the biggest things that I was struggling with when I went through a depressive period a couple of years ago. So it can be a scary thing to work with, but I'm here to share some of the information that I've learned and also experienced through working with depression and anxiety through a yogic lens and with yoga in a therapeutic approach. So in yoga therapy, we often classify depression into two different categories. We have Rajasic depression and Tamasic depression. Rajasic depression is usually characterized by hyperactivity, having to go, do, inability to relax. So a lot of times anxiety is manifesting within this Rajasic depression. The more familiar one, the one that gets more press and we know a little bit more about because it's more talked about, is Tamasic depression. And this is characterized by lethargy, by fatigue, by symptoms of not being hungry at all or eating a lot even though we're not hungry. And this is the one that more commonly affects clients who I've seen. It's the one that also affected me quite intensely a couple of years ago. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience so you know where I'm coming from and some of the healing that I experienced using yoga as a complementary therapy when I was going through a state of more Tamasic depression. And then I'm going to move into more general points about what yoga does, how it works with working with depression, why we see big success and big transformation when we implement a yoga therapy program into other therapies for clients who are working through depression. And towards the end, I'll make a couple of recommendations about what you can do, and especially a really great book that helped me when getting through my own experience with depression. Okay, so about a year and a half ago, I was in a hiatus, we'll say, a transition through my travels. I had been slow traveling around the world, doing a lot of yoga and meditation and dance work. And I came to a bit of a halt. I moved back home. I moved in with my parents because I just needed a break, and all my stuff was there. My car was there. It's still like a very logistically convenient home base for me. Thanks, Mom and Dad, for that. So I moved back home and I was there a few months planning to sell all my stuff and go travel again. And I got to a point where I realized like I don't think I'm going to be doing that. Like something doesn't feel right. And I can tell you quite honestly, I remember the day, like down to the hour, that something inside me shifted from just being in kind of a low mood to feeling completely like whoosh, in that cloud of what I found out later was depression. So this feeling came over me. I woke up the next morning thinking, okay, maybe it's just a bad mood. I woke up the second morning, it was still there. The third morning, it was still there. And at this point, I started to become a little bit concerned. I was questioning, like, what is this? Why don't I want to get out of bed? Why is my breathing so slow? Why don't I want to go out and hang out with friends or go to work? And it wasn't until about 6 weeks later that I sought out different therapies. I started working with a psychotherapist who was really helpful in like uprooting some of the deeper emotional and mental things that were coming up for me. And I also contacted a woman who I knew was a very good yoga therapist, Denise. Hi, Denise. She's also written a couple of books on managing emotions and depression from a yogic perspective. So I had a consultation with her, and I combined the work I was doing with psychotherapy with a yoga program that just helped me feel purposeful. Like it helped me feel like I had a reason to get out of bed each day. That even if I wasn't able to like go to work or be happy or feel purposeful in any other way during those days, I would wake up and feel like, okay, I have a purpose to do my yoga program to help my mind and body get to a state where I can better manage whatever's going on. So it helped me tremendously in that way. And for me personally, it was about 2.5 months that I remember that cloud, like just as quickly as it had settled in, I felt it lift. And I can't trace it exactly to like how much of it was the psychotherapy, how much of it was exercise, how much of it was the yoga. But having my yoga therapy program, I know like deep down it was a huge help in getting to that point. So that was my experience, and I still experience that wave kind of come back sometimes and hit me, but I'm able to work more with mindfulness and awareness now and question, okay, like what is this feeling? What techniques can I use to help manage the shifting energies in my body? So yoga therapy continues to be a really crucial tool for me to manage my emotions, especially when I start to feel kind of down and heavy. I'll tell you now a few key points about what exactly yoga is doing and how it's been proven to really help anxiety and depression. The first thing that yoga therapy does is it balances the nervous system. So whether we're suffering from a more rajasic depression, like characterized by a lot of anxiety, or a more tamasic depression, characterized by the lethargy and lack of motivation, there's usually some sort of imbalance in the nervous system. So a sympathetic predominance, like fight or flight, gotta go, 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 or a parasympathetic predominance, which is like, like loss of hope, feeling really low and heavy and tired. And the proper yoga therapy program, which is highly individualized for each client based on what they're going through, it helps to create a balance. So it can bring like sympathetic mode kind of more down if that needs to happen. It can lift us out of an unhealthy parasympathetic predominance, and it works to balance the two. So this is really important. We don't always want to go like from sympathetic predominance to the other side of the spectrum or vice versa, but the proper yoga therapy program can work to balance the two, because regardless of who we are, our overall health is characterized by the flexibility of our nervous system and the ability to adapt. Another thing that the proper yoga therapy program can do is affect the actual functioning in the brain, and I'm mostly talking about neurotransmitters. Dr. Timothy McCall is at the forefront of a lot of research of yoga as medicine. He started doing this, I don't know how many years ago, but a lot of studies came out around 2007, so 10 years ago, that showed that yoga boosts levels of serotonin, for example, which is a mood-enhancing neurotransmitter in the brain. There's also a major study that came out in 2010 or 2011. A team of 11 researchers got together, medical doctors and PhDs. They came together and did a 12-week study on the effects of a yoga practice versus a walking practice that had the same effect on like the metabolism. So in terms of like getting the heart rate up, burning calories, getting the body into a physical exercise kind of state. And they found that the yoga practitioners had way more increased levels of GABA in the brain, which is another neurotransmitter, which is crucial for happy moods and feeling good. And this is a big study. It's popular among us yogis because it demonstrates that yoga can actually be more effective than exercise when it comes to affecting the brain chemistry in some cases. Another thing that yoga therapy does is it works deeply on all the bodies. So I've talked about this before in my vlogs. It works on the physical body, the energetic body, the emotional and mental bodies, and also the spiritual body. So it's working on all aspects of our being, and especially regarding depression, we don't always know where it's rooted. Like, is it an emotional thing or a trauma that's coming up? Is it an agitated mind? Is it some sort of spiritual crisis, which is quite legitimate for some of the practitioners and some of the clients who come to yoga therapy. So it's able to work on all levels because we're working with body, breath, and mindfulness. We're getting at all levels of the being. And finally, it helps in, like I mentioned before, creating a sense of purpose, like a reason to get up in the morning. So it was Einstein who said that we can't solve problems in the same mindset or level of consciousness that we created them. And I like to apply this to yoga and depression because, like for me, for example, when I was working through it, I just felt so low all the time. I could barely figure out what was going on. Like, what is the issue here? What's the underlying thing that's coming up that's causing this? And what a yoga therapy program does is it helps to increase our energy, to get the serotonin going in the brain, to basically like elevate how we're feeling so that we're more capable of working with the tough stuff. And this is especially why yoga therapy and psychotherapy go so well together, because we're working with the body to be able to watch the mind more easily. So this is it. These are my 4 main points of how yoga therapy works with helping depression. And I want to emphasize now that we're at the end of the video that this talk is not meant to diagnose or treat any sort of mental disorder. If you are suffering from anything that is quite debilitating or you think something is wrong, I highly recommend that you go talk to someone, talk to a therapist, a medical professional about it. And if you do choose to go the yoga therapy route, know that all programs are quite individualized, and the book that I recommend you read is called Depression Decoded. It's by my friend Denise, who is the yoga therapist who helped me work through my bout of depression a couple of years ago. And it's a great book. You can find it on Amazon and on her website, Therapies for Evolution. And if you have any questions about yoga and depression and what else it can do for you, I'm also available, so send me a private message and we can talk. That's all for today. Bye, you guys. Have a beautiful, beautiful week, and I will see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.